Welcome back, guys, to some more MTGO Bant No Control action here in Modern with me, Magix. And what we are going to try out in this league is, well, just cutting one timely for one additional SoulGuide Lantern, because I did not face Burn now in around 5 leagues, whereas we faced at least one time Dredge and some other Uro decks, so having a heads up here on Graveyard Hate should be good. So let's go.
Push the goddamn button!
You heard what she said.
Alright guys, what I'm trying out today is making a voiceover. So I have played a league, but instead of commenting it live, I will just comment the video I made, so to say. This allows me to play with music on, kind of, and yeah, I have some more intel about my plays, and we don't have to bear with annoying pauses when opponents take like 5 minutes to go to the toilet or something, or when we are waiting for another match. So let's see. We have a hand with 4 lands and yeah, some Path to Exiles and an Archmage Charm. I keep that on the draw because yeah, could be an aggro deck, then it's okay. Archmage Charm is good against big mana, and yeah, we're fighting against Tron. Also Field of Ruin, of course, helps there too. But we certainly need some help to survive a turn 3 Tron here, maybe a Mana Leak or something. Pick up a Cryptic, that can be good for later. Now, if he goes second Tron piece, it will become more dangerous here. And he has the second Tron piece, no map, no scryings, no egg. So it could still be Eldrazi Tron, but since we have the Path to Exile, that wouldn't be the worst. But if it's big Tron and he directly goes for a big Karn, we are probably dead at this point. There's no coming back if he attacks our lands then. So let's see. I can't remember everything, but luckily he didn't complete Tron and plays a Reshaper, so it's Eldrazi Tron. They don't have as much search engines for their Tron, so makes sense. And I don't want to pass them here. I don't want to give them more mana for Reality Smashers and stuff like that. We can take a few hits from 3-2 at this point. We're still at 19, and eventually we will find a removal. And holding up Archmage Charm here can prevent a Thought-Knot Seer or a Karn the Great Creator. Because if the Karn hits and the Astrolabe is down, we also can't draw Ice-Fang Coatls, because then we can't filter anymore. He doesn't have Cavernous Souls, so luckily we can counter the Thought-Knot Seer here. If we would have played just nothing, we would have used Field of Ruin to collect more snow-colored basics. Yeah, and there's the Ice-Fang that we can now play because Astrolabe still works. Like, yeah, he plays 4 mana Karn with the Stony Silence effect, and we couldn't play the Ice-Fangs out. Yeah, here I think I just play the Plains, hold up Cryptic, and take even another hit for 3. Might have now a Karn, a Smasher, another TKS, who knows. Also, Tectonic Edge notably doesn't do anything here. Unless we tap completely out, then he can tech edge the Field of Ruin, which might be an okay move, but that means that he only plays a 2-drop. He does not, he plays TKS. I think I counter draw this stage, just to redraw. Find some more counters, maybe a Force of Negation. Plays Wastes. Usually they play 2 Wastes, so eventually with Path to Exile and Field of Ruin, will get your Swords to Plowshares or Wastelands. Here we draw Mana Leak, which is not bad because now we have Mana Leak and Ice-Fang up. Think I go to 10 here, not in a rush to path that. Maybe I do. No, I think in hindsight I should just leave up Mana Leak and Ice-Fang, I think. But well. Let's see what he plays here. Mindstone is fine. He's still 4 mana. Plays into Mana Leak here with the Karn, so it seems like he had it. and just wanted to bait out more counters with the TKS, but luckily we found the third counter spell here. And now I would slam Hero of Dominaria. Let's see if I really do that, but yeah. Play the Teferi, untap 2 lands, and hold up Ice-Fang. Find even another land, untap 2 basics so that Tech Edge can't ruin something. Can also Field of Ruin the Tron away. But that would leave us open to a Reality Smasher. No, because we get another snow-covered basic and can still path it. But yeah, I wait here because he has so much mana that Tron doesn't really matter unless he plays a main deck. Yeah, 10 drop or the other Emrakul with the Mindslaver effect. The Emrakul of Promise End. That's not likely in game 1. So I think holding up Path and Ice-Fang here seems fine. Place a map. So he can complete Tron or still fetch Cavern of Souls. But if he can't deal with Teferi now, are definitely in the driver's seat, and we still have the Uro in hand. Does nothing, so just cycle Ice-Fang or crack Field of Ruin. Okay, I guess I crack here to prevent Tron. Keep the Ice-Fang back for surprise blocks. Grab a basic forest, I guess. Yeah, this way we can play out the escape Uro. Let's see what he fetches here. Cavern of Souls, okay. But the creatures are not that threatening anymore, not with this hand and this board. It's mostly about the planeswalkers that he might have, and here we draw a Mystic Sanctuary, so we can put Cryptic, I guess, back on top. Play out the Uro, hold up Cryptic. Pretty good turn. Counting there, yep, we can do it in 1 turn. Not tapping the Field of Ruin against Tech Edge, just the non-basics. Draw it, gain 3 back. Yeah, and now, next turn, we have an Uro 2 that dominates the board against Eldrazi Tron. So unless he goes for a 4-mana Karn into Fetch Bridge, then tries to kill us with Walking Ballistas, we are definitely ahead here. Probably use the Field of Ruin on his Cavern of Souls nonetheless. 6 mana here. 3 unknowns, 1 Cavern of Souls. All options are open. There's the Cavern. If he plays a Smasher, we can flash an Ice-Fang, but he has a Walking Ballista. Because he played it on Construct. And yeah, Ballista for 3. It's fine. Now we have to use Path on it because it kills Ice-Fang. Yeah, do it in the correct order there. And he shoots 3 at Teferi. He doesn't have any more basics in his deck. Then we kick Cavern of Souls into the bin, and then Cryptic will be always online. Draw another hero. But yeah, I think this is a turn for Uro. Just flash it back and draw it out of the graveyard. Draw another card, gain again 3 life. Hopefully draw a land for the Cryptic. Also have still 3 Force of Negations in the deck. In hindsight, that might even be too risky as a turn, because we were so far ahead. I could have just left up a Cryptic Command there. Ah yeah, right, I forgot about the untap trigger. Yeah, we have Cryptic up with Ice, no, not with Ice-Fang, but still Cryptic is up, yeah. Now we can counterbounce Mystic Sanctuary and just lock him out of the game. Yeah. Right. I was smarter during play than during commenting this replay, apparently. Yeah. Sees the lock. Then I think we bought out one Force of Negation, because 2 is usually enough. We don't want too much of them as a top deck. One Supreme Verdict, because they rarely really play into it. And yeah, Mentor is fine for creating more pressure, especially against their planeswalkers, walling them with the Monk tokens, and yeah, Disdainful Stroke, obviously. If they don't have Cavern of Souls, you can counter their whole deck with it. And there's nothing else really in the sideboard. These two cards, I think, are good enough. Teferi Time Raveler is still good to bounce the Chalice of the Void that they might play on 1 to stop our Path to Exiles. Can also sometimes bounce like a Bridge or Mystic Forge or something like that. And Dovin's Veto is also okay, because their Planeswalker are usually what really kills us. Post-board, they might bring in Mindslaver Emrakul, which is a problem, but it costs usually around 10 to 8 mana, somewhere in between there. So unless they hit Tron, they will only be able to cast it when the game goes really long. Uro is still fine. They might have more Relic of Progenitus, and they have Scavenging Grounds, but at worst it cycles and gains 3. I think that the life gain is still important in this matchup, because they can apply a lot of pressure early on. Yeah. It's still okay, all in all. The Sand doesn't have a lot of early game interaction, but it has good grind stuff. Draw another land. Also has Field of Ruin to disrupt Tron. Or a Cavern of Souls, which is pretty important. I think that Cavern is even worse for us than them just completing Tron on average. Again, second natural Tron piece here. Please, they usually don't play Eugen or 7 mana Karn, so and I guess if they just slam a 4 mana Karn with a natural Tron here, it can still play Snapcaster and try to pressure it. They go for Thought-Knot Seer. So this is a hand where the Thought-Knot Seer is not as devastating. We are still off from Supreme Verdict. Snapcaster has no target. I guess Archmage Charm would be annoying, because then we can't counter Karn anymore, but yeah, Uro is also a fine pick. It's not the end of the world if they pick that. I think he picks Supreme Verdict here. I don't know if Eldrazi Tron knows that blue-white has Supreme Verdict. They can usually just leave it, and whenever you play it and tap out for it, they just punish you with a Karn or another Planeswalker. So I don't know if he really has to pick the Supreme Verdict here. I would suggest that Archmage Charm here is a better pick, because he sees that we have no counters, so he could just play his 4 mana Karn if he has that, and call it a day from there. But of course I don't know his hand, so could still be the right pick. I think he plays a Walking Ballista here. Attacks first, of course. Take the hit to 15. Still have Uro in hand to go back up to 18. That's what I meant during sideboarding. Gaining life back is still important here. If he just plays nothing, we could also just draw 2, play Jace, bounce the Thought-Knot, and go from there. We have Scavenger Grounds against Uro. Still, it would mean him tapping down and sacrificing a land, so it's still in our favor, in my opinion. Here comes the Meta Reshaper. I think I counter it simply to do something. with the mana. And if we keep the board clean, we can play Jace maybe and bounce the TKS. Then he has to commit like a Smasher or something, and that is his turn. Then he plays a Walking Ballista afterwards, so now the Jace becomes less appealing. We draw a Force of Negation. And I think now this is a turn for Uro to dig for a path to exile, because then we can path Snap Path. And with Force in hand, we can always prevent big Planeswalker here, so I think I go with Uro. See what we draw. Yeah. Hindsight, I should have used the Field of Ruin with Breeding Pool and Island. Then we could have fetched out Hallowed Temple Garden to play out the Ice-Fang, but then again it doesn't have Death Touch, so and he has the Ballista, so Ice-Fang doesn't do that much right now anyways. And yeah, he can use Scavenger Grounds here, but then he has to tap down 2 lands if he doesn't have Natural Tron here. So that would be his entire turn. I would be fine with that. So Uro was a cycling, a ramp, a gain 3, and a time walk. That's pretty strong. Here I think I flash in Snapcaster because I want him to get the Walking Ballista off the battlefield. So that Ice-Fang will become better if we draw an Astrolabe. Or just another Snow Basic or something. Yes, he can pump the Ballista, but then it still dies against the Snap block. Or if he pumps it and shoots the Snapcaster Mage, then that was his entire turn. And his board stays the same, which is also okay. At least nothing worse happens. Then we could play out the Uro if we draw a fetch land, but he shoots the Snap and probably tries now to play a Planeswalker because he doesn't want to tap down. Can understand that. Like maybe if we pause, so if I play the Snapcaster here and he just pumps the Ballista by 1 and shoots it down, right, then we take 1 more damage, sure. But then he is tapped down, and if we would have another land in hand, a green source, then we would just play the Uro and the Uro would dominate this board. So I think that's correct from him to just shoot the Snap here and play something else if he has something else. Just to clarify this turn, I think that was a good play from our opponent. Because I think he knows just about the Snapcaster, the Jace at this point. He doesn't know if we have a second green source or not. It's so easy to turn on with Astrolabe and all this stuff. And then he plays another Ballista for 2. But if that is his whole play, maybe you just pump the Ballista up after all. Like, I don't know. And we don't draw the green source, unfortunately. We kill the Scavenger Grounds so that he can't use it anymore. Get our 3rd Snow Basic here, so that Ice-Fang has a Death Touch now. So if we would find a path to exile for the Ballista or any other removal, then Ice-Fang can deal with the Thought Knot. Here we take 6 damage, so we go down to 6. We can shoot twice, and we would go down to 4. If he pumps the Ballista here, we would be at a virtual 2. We still play the Ice-Fang, this way he has to shoot it with the Ballista. And we cycle it simply for something else. Because sitting here and waiting doesn't accomplish anything for us. Draw Mystic Sanctuary, which could give us Archmage's Charm to potentially steal the Ballista, so he would sack it. Plays the 6th land, and here comes a Planeswalker, I think. So I use Force to pitch the other Uro. Sujin is also a problem. Now I think we just play Uro out. Even with the Teferi as a draw, I need the 3 life and the 6/6 as a blocker. And then we hope that he doesn't have Dismember in his hand or as the next card that he draws. But getting the Uro out now has also the upside of playing around a relic from the top. And we could still draw into Path to Exile or Oust, like we have still 5 spot removals in the deck. And we can put Sanctuary on top. Can't play Ice-Fang out again, but hey. Yeah, put Archmage Charm on top because that can deal with the Ballista if we have to. Or it just simply tries and draws to spot removal. Draws another land. 3, 5, 7, 9 for an Eldrazi with 3 in the graveyard if he has the Emrakul in hand, so it's very near the 13 mana that he needs. Here we just attack. Like if he wants to trade either of those cards for the Uro, that's fine by us. And I think since we have now 7 mana, I just used the Teferi and minus on the Ballista. And he can shoot down the Teferi, sure, but then the Ballista is gone, we have Ice-Fang for the TKS, we have an Uro on the board, and we are pretty far ahead. And of course we also have a Jace to follow up that he knows about. So I think using a 5 mana spot removal here is okay. He has 2 cards in hand. All the mana of the world on the battlefield, so Tron doesn't really do anything at this point. Draw Soul, plays a waste. We deal with a TKS, draw an extra card, unless he has Dismember here. But even with Dismember he can't win against the Uro. Draw another Astrolabe, so our hand is now just gas. Draw another card from the TKS, and now it's 4 against 1 card, with an Uro on the battlefield. Time Raveler. Yeah, and here now comes, I think, the big Emrakul with the Mindslaver effect, exactly for the 13 mana. So he Mindslavers us here, and unfortunately we have 2 Planeswalkers that can bounce in our hand, so he can just return his Emrakul to Mindslaver us again and attack with the Uro into the Emrakul. But we can play Uro out again, and if he plays a Planeswalker for us, that's also fine. There's nothing else he can really do at this point. We don't have a counter, so that he could put something on the stack and counter it with our own spell. Sure, he can play the Astrolabes out for us, but we get our turn afterwards, so I don't think that is okay, good enough. Like, if he doesn't bounce the Emrakul, we have still ways to deal with it. Can draw into another 5 mana Teferi, we can draw into Cryptic and just tap bounce Sanctuary, go from there. Can also draw another Ice-Fang and just block it. So here he goes for Teferi, plays it for us. Could also bounce Uro, of course, but what does that accomplish? I don't know. So I think he should just attack with the Uro, block it, or leave it, and then bounce the Emrakul back to hand. Try to find something that can beat myself, so to say. Finds a Snapcaster Mage with nothing to cast. Maybe lucky for us. And if he bounces the Emrakul, we just draw another card, so it's not like we are dead yet. Because we can still bounce it 3 times with the Jace. And there are no bolts in our deck that can get rid of the Jace once it's on the battlefield. Of course, we can't counter the Emrakul because he has Cavern of Souls, so we also need an Field of Ruin somewhere in the deck. Still have 2 there. Then we could counter the Emrakul and he just gets 1 Mindslaver effect out of it. And I mean, he has nothing else. It's just this Emrakul. I think he plays the Snap for nothing before we find something with it. Plays the land, doesn't find anything with it. It's good because else we could have maybe gone for another Mystic Sanctuary. Now he sees our deck. Yeah, plays out the Snap for nothing. I think that's it, because now he can't play the Astrolabes, and yeah, Jace also is not possible anymore, so was not the best Mindslaver all in all. I mean, sure, he can use the Emrakul again, but now we have a Brainstorm to kind of play around it. We can still attack for 2 here. And draw an Ice-Fang, which could block the Emrakul. I think I still Brainstorm here, try to find a Field of Ruin for the Cavern of Souls to start with. Just find more Jaces and big Teferis. I think I tried to hide the big Teferi underneath the next card, but then again I want to play out the Ice-Fang and then we draw Teferi for our turn anyways, but he could play out the Teferi and tuck itself with it, but we have 3 Astrolabes to cycle into it again, so that's not a permanent answer. Then the Snapcaster Mage will suicide again into the Emrakul, so yeah. We still have an Uro in the graveyard. I mean, if he just spends his turn casting this Emrakul, he also will not do anything else, so once we get the Ice-Fang down, it should be fine. So I think here, do I want to play out the Ice-Fang and show him the 5 mana Teferi, and then I think, yeah, let's play out the Ice-Fang, because this way at least we can continue attacking, and if he doesn't bounce the Emrakul, we also have a creature there or something. Like, what can he really do? He could put the Teferi on the stack and play the Mana Leak to get rid of it, sure. Then he bounces his Emrakul after Snapcaster Mage suicides, and then we just Brainstorm again, play out the Uro, and go from there. Like, where is he going from here? Just playing out Emrakul all the time. And it's also like he has only 10 minutes on the clock, and it's not like we are losing at this point. It's just like him, yeah, playing his Emrakul till the Jace bounce kills the Jace. And then what? Like, this is kind of a stalemate. Eventually we will find Field of Ruin and have the counter for the Emrakul, and then it's again a full hand against his stuff. Then for whatever reason he bounces the Snapcaster Mage and plays it out again instead of his Emrakul. Targets Archmage's Charm. Now I was thinking, okay, play the other Jace out and kill the Jace on the board and then bounce your Emrakul. But then why then bounce the Snapcaster Mage in the first place? Like, this doesn't make sense. In my opinion, you should just put the Teferi on the stake, hold priority, mana leak it. Bounces Emrakul and suicide the Snapcaster Mage into the Emrakul and then bounce it back to hand. Then we would attack for 1, play out the Uro, see where we are going from there. With a Brainstorm, of course. Yeah, so like I said, I don't know where he is going with this, and it's like his clock is ticking down. Even if we lose this game, eventually he will not do this in a 1 minute or 2, so we have a big lead up there in the third game then. Now he did nothing anymore. No, this is still his time, so yeah, he is still in the Mindslaver turn. Now he starts playing out the Astrolabes, so yeah. All is very confusing to me at this point. Maybe he doesn't see the line with the mana leak, but well. Now he can still play out the Fairy and Tuck itself. Then we still draw into it because we have the Brainstorm always. Yeah, like. I think he should have put the Teferi on the stack and mana leak it for good. Of course, this was also a line, yeah, right? Now I remembered he used the Archmage Charm to draw a few cards, but could have drawn these cards eventually anyways if he just Mindslavers us over and over again. But now he leaves me this opening. We play the I think we put the Force even on top because we will probably tap out here. This way we are safe against another Emrakul, not Emrakul, and Karn or Eugen. Usually they run 2, I think. Then we play 5 mana Teferi, tuck the Emrakul, uptick the other Teferi, Brainstorm. There. Put back the other Jace and the land. Which is a mistake. I should keep the Jace for the Force in hand. Because then I could have mana leaked and forced in 1 turn, so that was a mistake. Should have put back the other land. Or even an Astrolabe on top. I hold the Ice-Fang back in case he has a Reality Smasher that I can't counter. At least this way we get rid of the Smasher, even if it kills a Jace or Teferi. Yeah, but if he now plays a Walking Ballista for 4, we can't mana leak it. He could shoot. Then he could still pump and shoot the Planeswalkers down at least. And then go with the Emrakul in the following turn. Like, this is also a line, maybe. He taps 5 mana here, 6 mana. Yeah, exactly. Now we can't mana leak here. I think we still do mana leak it so that he can't play anything else. Because mana leak won't do much anyways. At this point. And then he can shoot down Jace and Teferi. We draw the other Jace and yeah, just continue. Or attack for 3, play out Uro. Then he can Emrakul us again. And suicide the Uro, but we still draw more cards and attack for another 3. He just now kills the hero of Dominaria, leaves us a Brainstorm activation. Okay. There is the Field of Ruin now, so we can finally get rid of the Cavern of Souls. Play out the Uro to put Field of Ruin into play. Okay, I even attack first here and see what he wants to do with the Ballista. Yeah, okay. comes the Uro. Put Field of Ruin into play. Now there is the Cryptic to counter the Emrakul then. But with the Field of Ruin he can't draw it, of course, because he has to shuffle, so... Right, that was also reason to do it now. Of course he can just naturally redraw it, but that is not that likely between 43 cards. Then we have still one more cycle. Now we have Force and Cryptic up. With an Uro on the battlefield, a Teferi and a Jace also on the battlefield. Whatever his 3 cards are that he has drawn with our Archmage Charm, I don't think any of that matters unless it's another Emrakul or an Ulamog. And even then the Ulamog can't exile everything, so just another Walking Ballista. I think we counterbounce the Sanctuary. Counter Ballista, bounce the Sanctuary at this point. Yeah, even target that. Still have 2 forces up at this point. Now we try to Cryptic lock him out of the game. Can force a Relic if he has that. Can force Karn, can't deal with the Smasher, but he has not a good attack here unless he has Dismember for the Ice-Fang. And even then he has Dismember for the Uro, I mean. And even then he has to suicide his Reality Smasher. And yeah, then he concedes because we have a second Jace that he knows about. So, well, it was the first match. Let's now jump to the next one, thanks to our replay function. Now we play against a Yorion deck here. So I was thinking about either Bant Ctrl Mirror or about the Yorion Scapeshift deck that is running around. Then he plays a Bloodstained Mire, which is not in the Scapeshift lists. And we draw a 3-mana Teferi, which is good against both variants, whatever it might be. Could also be still a Scapeshift variant with Bring to Light, so the Bloodstained Mire would make sense, because it can still fetch out a mountain. Like a Stomping Ground or something. Yeah, now with the 3 Astrolabes we have all the mana that we need. And he plays out a Ketria Triome, which leads me to think that it's a Scapeshift variant. Then he plays a Blood Crypt, so I was thinking about a Bring to Light version with maybe Renin 6 and stuff like Abrupt Decay against Ashiok and yeah, Teferis. But now he's tapped out. Some lists run Force of Negation, but not all of them, so I play the Teferi, and if he now doesn't have something like Double Bolt, and we can untap, then we are definitely in the driver's seat, because Teferi stops Bring to Light. All his counter spells will be very bad. And resolving Scapeshift or something like that will also be hard for him. It's not a Renin 6, but another Explore. And with no land drop to boot, so now we are firmly in the driver's seat here. I think I should play the Breeding Pool because Flooded Strand is another Sanctuary for either Archmage Charm or Flooded Strand. For Cryptic, sorry. Now we just sit here and wait what he does. If he does nothing, we can draw 2 or play Ice-Fang. There comes a Field of the Dead, so definitely kind of like a Scapeshift deck, I was thinking. We draw 2. Draw into Jace and Force, and I think now I just play the Jace, because with Force in hand I felt pretty comfortable. Put Archmage Charm back on top. And he used this window where he stumbled the turn before with a land drop to just put Jace into play. I was still playing around Lightning Bolt, and then we put the land drop on the bottom because he missed on the previous turn. And unless he can do something really crazy in this turn, we simply can't lose anymore, I think. And there is the Ren in 6, so it was not that far off. Pitch the Ice-Fang at this point, because who cares about attacking for one? Yeah, and now it's just counterbounce Mystic Sanctuary for all of eternity. The Teferi still at 4, so safe to bounce a card for more card advantage. Go back up to 6 here after the Brainstorm, find Uro, which can even ramp us ahead, and ship the turn back. So at this point, there is not a single way to lose this anymore, I think, unless he goes with like Cavern of Souls into Primeval Titan or something. And even then, he still has to find Valakuts. So first we deal with the Field of the Dead. Just brainstorm away. Find 5 mana Teferi, probably play that too. Maybe afterwards, like, not in a rush. Now we have Archmage, Shaman, Mana Leak up. He does nothing again. Then I just play Ice-Fang out, I think. Yeah. Or draw 2, sure. Then put the Archmage Shaman back on top. Or even the Force, yeah, sure. This way we can always tap low. Because our hand is full constantly anyways. Won't need the Archmage Charm. The hand is full and we don't need anything anymore. We see a timely reinforcements, which is weird, but also still lets me think about Bring to Light. So I board in the Ashioks, I think, and the Aether Gusts, of course. And I should board in the Disdainful Stroke, I think. But then I was thinking, okay, he also plays red in 6, so I might want the Celestial Purges to deal with that. And probably board out Oust and a few Path to Exiles. Maybe even one Uro. And the Hero of Dominaria, maybe. Cut it down to 1, or a Force of Negation. Cut it down to 2, maybe even an Ice-Fang, who knows. Mentor for some additional pressure, also be good. It's also good against Ren and 6, I guess, because you want to attack that, and if you just play a spell, maybe an Astrolabe, it grows to a 3/3 at least. Of course, he can ping the Monk tokens, but then he doesn't get the lands. I'm not sure if I even bring in the Ashioks. So I should leave in the Supreme Verdicts because of Field of the Dead. I think I bought out one Force of Negation, or maybe a Snapcaster Mage. Let's see, let's jump ahead. So I bought out one Uro, one Force, one Oust, one Path, and bring in Celestial Purges. I should bring in the Disdainful Stroke, but I didn't, I think. Yeah, I did not. I think that was a mistake. Okay. Now I have a hand again with 3 mana Teferi at least. So since this deck is a little bit slower and usually only plays Ren 6 out early, when we are talking about Scapeshift lists, besides maybe an Ice-Fang Coatl, I think the hand was fine to keep. With the hope, of course, that we will draw also into some more business. He plays an Arid Mesa, so something is up there, like Arid Mesa and Polluted, no, not Polluted Delta, the Black-Red fetch land. Is kind of weird even for a Scapeshift deck. Maybe he's running on a budget and doesn't want to buy Scalding Tarns and Misty Rainforests, but still. Something is up there. Also, we have not seen a single Astrolabe or Abundant Growth at this point. We have a breeding pool here. I think, yeah. Build towards triple blue. Or Uro. Just play Island Chip the turn, hold up Ice-Fang. So at worst, I was thinking that he has a Renin 6 maybe, but that's not the end of the world. He just gets his land drop, his land drops, and we still have some time. Then he plays this Savai Triumph and plays a 3-mana Teferi. So we have to flash in the Ice-Fang, he will just uptick, and then we have an issue. Because we can't counter what he is doing anymore. But then we play out Teferi, and both players can't counter anything anymore. But he has the finishers. They're cheaper all in all. Like if he resolves Scapeshift, he just wins. But at least we can stop Bring to Light with the Teferi. And then he has a Fry against our Teferi, unfortunately. He was prepared for the Teferi fights. So at this point we can just play out Uro and hope for the best. Try to get it going. Field of Ruin and the fetch land. Or we draw a Jace, and I think then I just try and play the Jace. He might have Remand, but go big or go home at this point. Okay, now play the Uro out. Play it safe. Well, safe. It's not really safe because we can't counter anyways, so... I mean, the Jace wouldn't have done anything really too. Just can't counter anyways. There's no removal for the Teferi because we don't play Detention Sphere or something like that. And he instant speed Farseeks, puts the 5th land drop into play. 3 different Triumphs. Now he's running out of cards in hand, and Yorion is not doing a lot. Now at least we are drawing more creatures to pressure the Teferi. Like maybe he just has lands in hand and we can still kill Teferi and go from there. did nothing against the other Ice-Fang. So I think now I go for the Jace instead of the Snapcaster Mage. Because we can't kill the Teferi anyways if he pluses. Yeah, go for the Jace. See if it resolves or not. Are the last two cards counters? And the answer is no. So we brainstorm, don't care about Lightning Bolt. It seems also like it's not a Lightning Bolt. Only draw into lands and an Archmage Charm. Maybe another instant speed Farseek into Scapeshift. And then I see that he plays Dwarven Mine and was thinking about the Polymorph deck, and at this point we are dead. Because he puts an Emrakul into play, bounces the Ice-Fang that we still have back as a blocker, and yeah. I mean, even if we would have two Ice-Fangs as a blocker, we would still lose all of our board presence, and he still has the Teferi going, like, yeah. So now I know what we are playing against at least. So it's not a Scapeshift deck, but then again the Yorion doesn't make any sense to me. Like, what are you blinking with that? And if you are not blinking anything, is it really worth to go up 20 cards just to have an 8 drop in your command zone, to say? Not so sure that is correct, but yeah, you should just bounce and attack. Sure, we would survive a hit, but we can't deal with the Teferi, and eventually he will have another Dwarven Mine with something, so I concede here. Now that we know that it is this kind of deck, I put out the Mentor and the Supreme Verdict, and put back in the Force of Negation, and I should put in the Disdainful Stroke that is still hanging in our sideboard. I think I forget about it, because it's hiding underneath this Jace that I was boarding out, because against the Lightning Bolt deck it's kind of a little bit awkward, and I don't want to tap out too early anyways against the Scapeshift deck, and then Teferi is just better because you can untap 2 again. But against his style of deck, it's not about the card advantage from the Planeswalkers, but simply trying to survive. And I see the Disdainful Stroke, and for whatever reason I did not bring it in, and I think this is a mistake. Should have at least taken other Path to Exile out for it. And you can imagine how it goes. I miss exactly this Disdainful Stroke in the end. Skip a little bit ahead. I hold this hand with Mystic Sanctuary as our turn 1 play. Of course, we have Mana Leak and Mystical Dispute against the Teferi. Mana Leak can counter also the Polymorphs, right? And we have Celestial Purge against the Renin 6 if he has that. And already a Hero of Dominaria as our finisher. So I think this hand is pretty good. Just even find a 4th land drop, which is not horrible here. Hold up Celestial Purge and Mana Leak. No need to shock in the Temple Garden. Yeah, now it takes a little bit of time. So he plays the Wooded Foothills, cracks it. He's an Explore. I'll let that resolve because I don't want to waste my counters here. Next turn we have Mana Leak and Mystical Dispute, so even if he has a Whale of Summer or a Mystical Dispute of his own, we can still counter a Teferi. If nothing happens, we have now Breeding Pool into Ice-Fang, so also okay. Place a Ren in 6, we can also let that resolve and use the Purge. Here comes the Teferi. And here I use Mystical Dispute for it. But since I can't play out Ice-Fang anyways, I think I should have used the Mana Leak. It will not matter in the end if I think correctly, but still. Because now 1 mana is unused. It looks always ugly. Well, now we draw Dovin's Veto, so yeah, now we have Veto, Ice-Fang, Mana Leak, and Celestial Purge up. Can double spell here if we want to. Play out Ice-Fang, hold up everything. Now I was thinking about maybe he plays Through the Breach and do not play the Teferi out. Because if he counters maybe with a Mystical Dispute and pitches a Spirit Guide or something, that would turn awkward, so yeah, I do not play out the Teferi. He puts Through the Breach on the stack. And here I make a second mistake and use Mana Leak instead of Dovin's Veto. I was thinking that Dovin's Veto can still deal with the Teferi, and he can only protect it with Veil Summer at this point, right? So if Mana Leaked the turn before that, of course, if I Mana Leaked the Teferi, then Mystical Dispute would have costed 3 here. It's of course still fine because, yeah, we would have Dovin's Veto still up, but this way I have Dovin's Veto and Mystical Dispute up. So I could could have used Mystical Dispute maybe on another Teferi and still Dovin's Veto his own counterspell if he would have one. So in hindsight, this, while it might be a mistake back there, it did not cost me the game. Now it's also kind of favorable for us. So he puts this dwarf into play, and I was thinking, okay, I can still counter a polymorph, but then he plays a Primeval Titan. And now I regret that I have not used Dovin's Veto against the Through the Breach, but Mana Leak. Because I can Mystical Dispute that, but he has a second one in hand. And now I don't have a counter against a creature anymore. So I desperately try here to find another counterspell. Maybe an Archmage Charm, an Aether Gust, another Mana Leak, but yeah, then we draw the Uro. He plays out the second Titan, and now I don't have anything against that, unfortunately. Also have to untap a white source here. In case he doesn't, yeah, in case he just plays another polymorph, I have Dovin's Veto at least. I was also not thinking about Primeval Titan, of course, because he did not play one out in game 1 or game 2. Because he didn't need to, of course. Now he thinks what we could have. And then he just slams the Titan. Because otherwise he won't get out of this, of course. Plays the Valakut beforehand, and yeah, then just grabs another Valakut and a mountain and shoots my board down. So at this point we are dead. So in hindsight, if I used Dovin's Veto on the Through the Breach instead of Mana Leak, I could have prevented this Titan and probably win the game with the Teferi. I mean, if we draw another counter, because if he has another polymorph, he still wins, but we can Celestial Purge the token actually, so yeah, now we lose the Teferi and we just draw 2 lands, so there, it was game over. So yeah, was not thinking about an Evil Titan, kept the Dovin's Veto because I was thinking, hey, it's uncounterable, so he can't win a counter war against this if we use it against a polymorph, right? But yeah, then was punished for it because the Primeval Titan couldn't be countered by Dovin's Veto. Was it really a misplay? It's hard to say. Maybe I should have thought about Primeval Titan, but yeah, he got me there. So if you play against this 80 cards variant, think about Primeval Titan, I guess. Now we play against a Ganther deck, which either means humans or it means Tron. Let's see the first hand again quickly. This was the first hand, so if it's humans, we can't cast a single spell. It's awkward. If it's Tron, with a third land drop, we could use Field of Ruin, but we are on the draw and don't have any early game interactions, so I was thinking in either case. Also, this is nowhere near enough blue mana for Cryptic or Archmage Charm, so yeah, pitch it back. This is also a very bad hand against either deck, because a single Supreme Verdict won't get you against won't pull you through Meddling Mages and freebooters. So yeah, pitch it back again. Now we have at least a Field of Ruin and a Mana Leak if it's Tron. I don't want to go lower, so if he plays humans, we have lost game 1 here. But our opponent also takes mulligans. Or at least one mulligan. Plays the Tron land and an egg. So this is kind of around the 8th or 9th Tron match that I now play in 5 leagues. So if you play MTGO, definitely prepare for Tron. It's, at least for me, everywhere. Maybe I also just play during European times where everyone plays Tron apparently, but be prepared. And here he prepares for the turn 3 Tron. Then we can hold up Mana Leak to prevent a Karn or something. And use Field of Ruin hopefully to disrupt him. Doesn't really matter what land I play here. Just have to Mana Leak the next play, I think. Then I rejoice because he did not drop the other Tron piece, but just a basic forest. So I counter the Sylvan Scrying here, preventing him from Tron. Hoping that he didn't troll me and have it naturally anyways, but since we have Field of Ruin, at least we get another turn out of it. Pick up the mine. I picked not the tower because if he completes Tron in the future again, then at least if he searches for it in his turn before that, he has less mana than if we just replace the tower for 3 from the hand. Then I pick up the Mana Leak again because at least it has one more use. Since he is missing 2 Tron pieces and now he spins his wheels. Cycling, trying to find more search spells, and he fails to hit his steerings. So I use the window we have here, thanks to Field of Ruin, slam Teferi down, hold up Mana Leak against a map or something. And here. Then he concedes, because Teferi is too strong. I think that was premature, because we only had a Mana Leak, and yeah, eventually we still have to counter everything he plays. So yeah, here we bought out Supreme Verdict. It doesn't do anything really against Wurmcoil or Eldrazi's that are indestructible. One Path, one Oust, bought in Aether Gust because as of late Tron decks are also running Choke and Whale of Summer and Thragtusk. So you still have some value for them. Also you can counter a Stirrings or a Scryings or yeah, something of that nature. Mentor of course is very good pressure and Disdainful Stroke counters everything. Then I bought out even one Uro because usually they have more disruption against our graveyard post board. I was thinking about a Mystical Dispute as a kind of expensive mana leak, but that is better on the play actually, where you have the third land drop against them, so that you have more ways to counter that first play that they make. Not so good on the draw, but I'm also not sure that the Ashiok is really that much better. Sure, at least it can stop Sanctum of Ugin, the later stages of the game, which is important to prevent them from finding the big Eldrazi's. Stops also Sylvan Scrying to find Sanctum of Eugen in the first place, but yeah. Leaving in Time Raveler because it can also bounce back the Wormcoil engines. When you block a threat task with the Ice-Fang, you can bounce back the token, so it's a clean answer to that too. And you can also sometimes bounce back that Oblivion Stone that threatens to destroy your board when you disrupt that Tron a little bit with Field of Ruins. So, certainly not the strongest cards, but I think better than the other cards we have. I keep this, not happy of course, but hoping that Aether Gust maybe can counter that Sylvan Scrying if he doesn't have Natural Tron or Choke or a Threat Task only. And we have 3 lands, an Ice-Fang, so maybe can string something together here. Like on the draw, the only card we really have to mulligan for is that counter spell against their Natural Tron play, so either a Mana Leak, the Disdainful Stroke, or Dovin's Veto. So we are taking a mulligan for that 4 off, but I don't know. Can also draw the 4 off. In the top 10 cards on the draw, so and here our opponent took a mulligan to 4 to 3, so I was shortly thinking, is this real? Has he really only 1 card in hand, or is this MTGO playing with me? So he goes with Tronland Egg. I don't have any plays, so saved some life points here. Prepare the Ice-Fang for the next turn, or the Aether Gust. He has already 2 Tron pieces, so I was thinking, okay, natural Tron in hand with 1 egg, still good enough if he has the 7 mana Karn here, so we would still lose against a mulligan to 3. Funny, but that is Tron for you. And if he has natural Tron, he can still put in Gigantor into his hand with the Egg Crack with green mana, so okay, let's skip ahead because nothing happens here right now. So he has still 1 card in hand and plays Expedition Map here. Dodge Tron there. And yeah, since he has now only 1 mana, we play Ice-Fang out here, drop the Teferi, bounce the map back to hand. Hope that he doesn't rip natural Tron Karn. Which is probably in his hand. It's always the Karn, right? Father is always there. Okay, now it takes some time again. We draw into Mentor. Still preferring the Teferi play here. Because playing the Naked Mentor here, I don't know. Maybe this way we could pressure a 7 mana Karn, but then again, he will just minus on the Mentor, and what are we going to do? Attack it for 1? Sure. Doesn't really bother him, we still can't deal with it, so gamble, bounce the map, delay his Tron, hopefully. Should have played the Breeding Pool there to have Archmage's Charm for the following turn, so that was a misplay. So he has Tron for the next turn with all the manners in the world. Yeah. Now I see that I messed up the Archmage's Charm to prevent an Ulamog, so we just go with Mentor, I think. Or Uro hold up Aether Gust, I can't remember exactly. Okay, so at least we hold up Aether Gust. Maybe it's only Thragtusk in hand. But yeah, I should have left open at Archmage Shram there. So that could give him a window back into the game. But it's just a Wormcoil engine, so dodge the bullet there. Fetch Hallowed Fountain, I think. Yeah. Yeah, now with Force that we have drawn, I can at least counter a Planeswalker. Of course not in Ulamog, but I think I just play the Teferi here and tuck the Wormcoil engine. And attack for 1, of course. Don't forget about Ice-Fang. Can't decide how I want to tap. So at least we can force a card now. And here comes an All-Stars, we can also force that. Now we hope that he doesn't have Whale of Summer here. But yeah, I wanted to protect the big Teferi. Feels like that is our ticket to win here. So even that Tron Mulligan to 3 was closer than you might think. Like if he has something else than the Wormcoil engine there, thanks to my mismanagement of the land drops, I would have lost. Now we just play Mentor, hold up Archmage Charm and go from there. Have Tron disrupted again, so he also has to rebuild it. Won't draw the engine anymore, but yeah. Now we have Archmage Charm and Aether Gust up. We know that he doesn't have Whale of Summer in hand, because he probably would have used it. Puts his companion into hand. And then nothing happens. Could draw 2 here, make a Mentor token. But that would be our only hard counter, so for now I just hold it. Play the Jace for virtually 2, thanks to the Teferi trigger. Playing the Jace triggers the Mentor. Then we can still brainstorm. Now we also have a path for future Wormcoil engines. And the Force, just to be sure. And yeah, at this point now we can't lose anymore, but yeah. Still should have played better there. Tron can be very scary. Next match, we are again on the draw. We have an Astrolabe with a Field of Ruin for Supreme Verdict. If we draw a fetch land here, our mana is fine. Opponent took a mulligan. Plays Forest into Search for Tomorrow, so now we are playing against the Scapeshift deck. And we have the next land drop, so our mana looks fine here. We have Supreme Verdict against Field of the Dead. We have Cryptic Command against a Primeval Titan, if we can get there. And my thinking here was, I think, that I force the Search for Tomorrow, simply to delay his Titan by exactly 1 turn that we would need to hold up Cryptic Command. And I see that he plays green-black, so Abrupt Decay against Ashiok. Yeah, now I use Force to delay the Titan by 1 turn. Pitch Supreme Verdict. And run into a main deck Whale of Summer, and now we are dead. He just puts the turn for Titan into play where we have only 3 mana. And I don't draw Mana Leak or Archmage Charm here to prevent that really. How does he do this? Of course with the castle. That creates 6 mana for a creature. I can't Field of Ruin it here because he doesn't play it out yet, but I spoil you and yeah, just tell you what happens next. He plays the green castle, taps it for 4 mana. This way he generates 6 mana for a creature, which happens to be Primeval Titan, and Primeval Titan finds Field of the Dead. I don't have the Supreme Verdict anymore, which might be another mistake in hindsight. Should have pitched the Teferi maybe, but it was our only business we had, really. So, yeah. Okay, then we have 2 Aether Gusts, 1 Disdainful Stroke, and 2 Ashiok Dream Render, even if he has Abrupt Decay. He at least is forced to have it. Yeah, you can see Oust goes out, maybe 1 Supreme Verdict, 1 Time Raveler, but then I put it back in because we saw Veil of Summer already and I hate that card against us, and at least Teferi can prevent the Veil of Summer or draw out an Abrupt Decay at least to protect an Ashiok. Here we keep the Soul Supreme Verdict in hand again, with a Dovin's Veto at least, to counter a Ram spell and buy us some time. Again, the turn 1 Search for Tomorrow. And there we draw the Aether Gust, which is one of the best cards in the matchup. Can also prevent an Abrupt Decay, but only for so long. You have to put it back, or yeah, let him choose if he wants to put it back on top and then Field of Ruin him to protect an Ashiok. Now we can Dovin's Veto an Farseek or something here, but he plays Tribe Elder. I don't waste the Aether Gust. Out Hallowed Fountain, I think. Yep. The 3rd blue source into play. Also find Uro. Do we hold up Dovin's Veto? Which might not be correct because he can kind of counteract it with the Veil of Summer. I still think I veto here and try to slow him down. No, okay. I have to remember why I did this. Maybe because sometimes they run Monvuli Acid Moss or something like that. Yeah, I don't know. Should have Uro'd probably the turn before, but because then I could have played a Teferi out here and still hold up 2 mana. And we wasted 1 turn doing that. Well, could have also had a castle again, so there is the castle. Yep, he has it with Veil of Summer up, so that's the reason why I play Aether Gust here. Don't want him to find a Field of the Dead here yet. So we Aether Gust it, he puts it on top, so we use Mystic Sanctuary to put Aether Gust back on top. Drop the 5 mana Teferi, draw into it, and untap the mana for it. That is why Aether Gust is so damn strong here in the Mystic Sanctuary deck. Can't play around it with Weight of Summer or something like that. It always will counter the Titan. And with Mystic Sanctuaries, you can use it several times, maybe draw a Snapcaster Mage, use it again, and slowly grind them out until you find an Ashiok or something. Now he draws the Hour of Promise again. It has a Blast Zone this time. So Hour of Promise 3 unknowns. And he plays it again, so we Aether Gust it again. Still not playing into Veil of Summer, which I'm very sure he has it, because he held up this extra mana last turn. I could have played Hour of Promise the turn before. Now we just drop the Jace here, try to find another Aether Gust. Kill the castle first. Okay, yeah, because then he would have to tap down all of his lands to cast a Titan instead of only 4, so makes harder for him to double spell. And he still needs some time to pump up this Blast Zone to 5 or 4, so yeah, why not? Make use of our mana here, and there is the Ashiok. Now I put away that Veto, because I was sure he has a Veil of Summer and I don't want to play into it. At least not until we find a 3-mana Teferi of our own. Counteract Veil of Summer. Now he can resolve a Titan here. And yeah, he has Cavern of Souls anyways, so now I wish I would have Field of Ruin, but at least he has to tap 6 mana here. Instead of only 5 with the castle. So that maybe prevents a Dryad in this turn, which is still relevant. Like if he fetches out, if he would have played a Dryad before that and then fetched out Valakut, he kills all of our Planeswalkers. So it was not without value that we killed the castle at least. And now he goes for Field of the Dead and Bojuka Bok, which here gets rid of our Uro, but that is fine because we have Cryptic Mystic Sanctuary going for us now, since the Bok is already on the battlefield and this variant doesn't run bounce lands, I think. We only have to take care about one Thespian Stage, the land that can copy. I also have a Supreme Verdict, of course. Let's Brainstorm. Only find lands. But we have a Field of Ruin against Field of the Dead at least. And then we could just Supreme Verdict. Yeah, we can still play out the Ashiok and then use Field of Ruin. Thanks to the untap of the Teferi. Then I just use it, I think, because he doesn't have bolts anyways. Can put it to 4. Exile, Explore, Veil of Summer, and Dryad. He has Abrupt Decay, which we can't prevent. But now he has only one more card in hand. We Field of Ruin. Yeah. Misclicked there, I think. I should have untapped the Field of Ruin to prevent the Field of the Dead. Definitely a mistake again. Making a lot of mistakes there. So this shouldn't have happened, and now he has a Field of Ruin to kill our Field of Ruin and just get another zombie. So immediately punished for that. Immediately punished for our stupid mistake. Luckily we still have the Cryptic Command going for us, and Teferi is soon at 8, so we only have to stall out this one turn to get the Teferi emblem, and then he can't win anymore. At least not with what we have going here. Find the Veto again. Brainstorm. Now we find 3 mana Teferi too. Play it just so that he can't interact on our turn anymore. Can't use Whale of Summer anymore. So I think if his last card would have been Whale of Summer, he should have used it. Now I can even use Archmage Charm to steal his zombie at beginning of combat and block the other zombie. And then he goes for Blast Zone, and then I have to bounce it because else he kills our 5 mana Teferi. So I can't let him untap, so we have to bounce the Blast Zone now and draw a card, giving up the Cryptic Lock. Of course, he should not have a single zombie in play because here the Field of Ruin misplay. Then we untap 2, and I think we take 1 zombie away, hoping that his last card isn't another Abrupt Decay. But then at worst, Teferi goes down to 6, so it's still okay. We still have 3 Planeswalkers in play. If the last cards are dried into Valakut, that could be an issue, because then he can control us out with that maybe, but yeah, just has a land drop, that's not good enough, and then the Teferi emblem will get rid of all his cards with the Brainstorm, Snapcaster Mage, Archmage Charm, and Teferi Bounce. So yeah, made this one misplay with the Field of Ruin, which was instantly punished, but we were so far ahead that it didn't matter in the end, luckily. Now I bought out 1 Force of Negation because there was not a lot we actually want to force. Possibly only Summoner's Pact. Maybe a Ram spell, but that's about it. And the Dovin's Veto also didn't seem that great, so I bring in a 3rd Path to Exile to deal with Dryad that we saw in his Exile Zone after the Ashiok minus. And the 2nd Supreme Verdict because, yeah, seems like he doesn't run Scapeshift really with Mountains, but just Dryad Titan. And Supreme Verdict is okay to wipe the board, maybe repeatedly with Mystic Sanctuary, so here we have at least land drops, Mana Leak, Archmage Charm, feels okay. Drawing the 6th land here, of course, is not that great. He starts again with Search for Tomorrow, so next turn he can have again 4 mana. And has a Thoughtseize here. So he has not a lot to pick from, but he sees our set hand. We will have Mystic Sanctuary on 4, so we can put the card back into our hand later if we want to. I think he picks Archmage Charm because that can draw cards. Now we have a single mana leak against the world. And draw a 3-mana Teferi, which can at least bounce a Dryad for a turn or something. But here, still not the best here. To have loved Teferi in this turn, because then the Search for Tomorrow would have fizzled. And he can't decay because of Teferi either. So now I gamble and hope that he doesn't have a Whale of Summer, trying to slow him down as much as possible with the Mana Leak. Did not do the same as in the first game. This time he doesn't have the Whale of Summer, so we get maybe a few turns here before he gets going. If he doesn't have a Dryad exactly now, and he does not, so let me draw an Archmage Charm. And now I will not play the Teferi but hold up the Charm, hoping that we could just draw 2 cards to find more business, put it back with Sanctuary, and go from there. Place a Valakut. Breeding Pool. Shock it in. No. Keeping on to the Archmage Charm. Put the other Charm back on top. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think the reasoning is that if he plays the castle next turn, and our Archmage Charm doesn't immediately draw us into other counters, then we can't prevent the Titan here and get buried. So yeah, it makes sense to keep the Archmage Charm in hand there for one more turn. So now he doesn't have the Titan, we'll just use the Charm to draw a few. Draw an Uro and a Jace. Since he missed the castle, we could now play the Uro out and hold up the Charm again, thanks to the Astrolabe. Or if he doesn't play anything, we can also use Field of Ruin. And if he plays a Bog there, that means also no Titan next turn, so I guess if he goes with a castle and has a Whale of Summer in hand that he didn't use on the Search for Tomorrow, which is unlikely, then he could get us here. Yeah, if he would have a Whale of Summer in hand, I think he would have used it. Maybe he has drawn it, but now he also, yeah, he has to cast exactly Titan Whale of Summer here in the best case, else we get the Uro going. And okay, he has a Bojuka Bog, but that is fine in the end. We still get some time, because now he did play a Titan, right? So we just use Field of Ruin and kill the Valakut, I think, preventing Dryad value here. And then we have 6 mana, so we can drop a Teferi Time Raveler, bounce the Astrolabe, hold up Archmage Charm. If he kills the Teferi, he can't cast a Titan again. If he does not kill it, he can't use Titan Whale of Summer, so I think that is a fine turn. Tapping down the non-basics. In case there's something. Anyways, doesn't matter. Now we draw the Ashiok, but I think I don't play it. I mean, he could Abrupt Decay it, but then he can't play the Titan again anyways. Just cycles the Peatland now. Also, maybe he uses the DK now on the Teferi and then the Ashiok might survive, so I think we don't lose anything in holding it back here. Because we can counter the Archmage Charm unless he hits exactly Cavern of Souls. It's hard to play around everything in the end. You have to make some concessions there, I think. Also don't know how many Cavern of Souls they play. Okay, nothing happened. I could also just play a Jace here. Or still hold up counter magic. I'll play the Ashiok out now. Right. Now he did not use his Verdant Catacombs there, so now he is off Titan mana again. Maybe he forgot it. I could have plus there on myself, I guess, to put more cards into the graveyard for the Mystic Sanctuary. That is something I could have done here that I did not do. Would have also improved our Snapcaster Mage, so I think I should have targeted myself here. And then he plays a Field of the Dead from the hand and has zombie tokens. Which is not the end of the world here. Keep the fetchland back because we have Jace and Mystic Sanctuary. Then we draw the Cryptic, so unless he can copy Jukabog, we have a lock going soon. Found the token here. Yes, he can make another token, but then he has only one attacker, and we have Still Path and Snapcaster Mage to protect our Planeswalkers here. Which is the main issue, is getting to untap with the Jace. This way we have the draw engine for the Cryptic lock. Now he finds a Titan and has Cavern in hand already. So he can make a lot of zombies or search out Valakut in case he has a Dryad in hand. Can counter the Dryad. So I think he goes for more Field of the Dead. Let's see. Can't remember exactly. But now our plan is to Cryptic lock him until we find Supreme Verdict and clean this up. Keep the path in hand for a Dryad, I think. Yeah. Need to path the Titan if we have to tap anyways. We find a 5 mana Teferi, which is good. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I do not go for it here yet. Three, 4. So if you would have played the 5 mana Teferi, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, untap 2. 2, 3, 5. Would have 2 mana. We could have still done it. Important thing here is to hold up Path to Exile against Dryad plus land drops for, yeah, well, it could or something. That is what usually gets me, what got me in the past at this stage in the game. Once you have the Cryptic lock going here, with the fetch lands open, he can't really stop them. Even if he has a Thespian stage here, I think. The Jukabog trigger will go on the stack, and then we can fetch out the Sanctuary, so... Now I don't find another land drop here, unfortunately. Would have loved another land drop. So what I should have done is put the other Sanctuary back on top, because I don't want to play it out here to prevent them from playing Thespian Stage or another Bojuka Bog and prevent this lock. Now I also play the Path to Exile because I don't want to discard, but that is also a mistake. Because when I have to Cryptic now, I can't Snappath a Dryad, and if he has a Valor Code, he kills the Jace. So we are out of the lock then. So yeah, I should have put Mystic Sanctuary back on top, I think. Then we just discard Astrolabe, Snapcaster Mage, whatever here. Yeah, these are the small mistakes that you make that might cost you the game in the end. That you can't make when you play a fair control deck, because every turn matters. As fair as these control decks with Mystic Sanctuary, Uro and all the Planeswalkers go. And now he has to find a way out of this lock, and I think if he has the second Bojuka Bog or a copy for the Bojuka Bog on the field, then he gets us here. Because I did not put the other back. What I could also do is use Field of Ruin on his Bojuka Bog, of course. Grab another island, fetch another blue source, and just go then for the Cryptic. Then he can't copy it anymore, and we only lose if he has a second one. Or if he plays a Titan for a second one, of course. So, yeah. Can still lose here. So, should not have myself left open to the possibility of losing here. Now nothing happens, let's jump ahead a little bit. Okay, then he goes into combat. We use the Cryptic. And now I notice my mistake kind of, and fetch here, unfortunately. For whatever reason I did not use the Field of Ruin then. To kill at least the Bojuka Bog here. So yeah, if he has now another way to deal with the Cryptic in the graveyard, we have an issue. Unless we draw Supreme Verdict or something. He did not, so yeah, now we can put it back on top and go from there. So, dodge the bullet there again. Brainstorm hopefully with another land, but we still miss with land drop, so... Yeah, this time also found another path to exile that I should not use now. We drop the Teferi. Let's throw Uro in the bin. Maybe instead of playing the 5-mana Teferi, we should still have used Field of Ruin on Bojuka Bog. Just say go. Play it safe, but he doesn't have anything here. So we continue with the Cryptic lock. Now we can play out Uro 2 if we want. It costs actually only 2 mana because of the Teferi plus. And yeah, I think we can safely pitch the mana leak here into the graveyard. Finding the Disdainful Stroke as a substitute. There's another land drop. And the Supreme Verdict now. So we have instant speed Supreme Verdict 2 if something goes wrong. So now even if we can disrupt the Cryptic afterwards, we have Supreme Verdict, put it back on top, Supreme Verdict again. So we still have several turns we can stall. And that is really... yeah, so even if we can now disrupt the graveyard, we have instant speed Supreme Verdict. With the Cryptic, of course, we put Mystic Sanctuary back in our hand, so we can Supreme Verdict again at instant speed. And then I could have used actually Snapcaster Mage to do it a third time, go for the Teferi ultimate again. But I choose to pitch the Snapcaster Mage here, which is also again a mistake, I think. Should have pitched Force of Negation, because what are we gonna force anyways? Maybe we force a Summoner's Pact for a Dryad or something, but... Okay, plays out another Cavern of Souls. This time for Dryad. So here comes the Dryad. So far so good. Now do you have a Valakut in hand? Because he has still 2 fetch lands open, he can then fetch and use the Valakut. But he has a Supreme Primeval Titan. I think he should have attacked before playing all of that to tap our mana down, because now we have full choices here. Can Supreme Verdict away everything. I think he searches for Valakuts. Searches for Thespian Stage and Valakut. So copying Bojuka Bog now doesn't accomplish anything. Copying the Valakut is... he could have also just searched the other Valakut, I think. So chooses to copy Bojuka Bog, and now the question is how he stacks. And I think he stacks the Bojuka Bog as the first trigger. Which I think is also a mistake from him. He should now put the Bojuka Bog trigger on the stack and the Valakut on top, because then we are forced to remove the Dryad and he exiles more cards this way. Whereas now I just let the Bojuka Bog trigger resolve and keep the Supreme Verdict in the graveyard. So what he should now do also is use Verdant Catacombs here, fetch, and get more Valakut trigger on the stack, which he also doesn't do. I don't think that he doesn't have any targets, so I think he should have used the Verdant Catacombs there. Yeah, and now we have again the Cryptic Log. Supreme Verdict is still in the graveyard, so we can also go for that. And yeah, Planeswalkers are still ticking. There's the other Snapcaster. Okay, yeah, makes sense now. I put the other one on top, so Supreme Verdict line that I talked about Still available to us. Keep the land on top. And here, ship with 7 cards here. Now I use the Field of Ruin. Kind of pointless at this stage in the game, but well. Kill a Valakut in case he has another Dryad. You never know. Now we need 2 more turns for the Teferi ultimate to win slowly. Now he plays Veils of Summer. I think I even hardcast forced this, just preventing him from drawing a card. Put Cryptic back on top, draw into it. Yeah, and he concedes. Alright, then for the last match, let's jump ahead. Seems like an okay grindy hand, again on the draw. Were we ever on the play in this league? I'm not sure. Opponent took a mulligan. Well, we also took a mulligan, but here. Have a removal spell, have Jace and Uro. Plays Polluted Delta. Could be an Urza deck. Could be a Death Shadow deck. Draw a 5-drop here, which was not necessary. And here comes the Hallowed Fountain, so Delta Hallowed Fountain, Snow-Covered Island, Stoneforge Mystic, so it's either a mirror or blue-white Stoneforge Mystic deck, and he grabs a Better Skull here. And this is now a tough situation. If I path the Stoneforge, he immediately can drop a Jace or a Teferi. I mean, Teferi he can drop anyways if he has a land drop, but this turn 2 Jace would destroy us. But I still path here, thinking that if he untaps with the Stoneforge... Oh yeah, I path in his upkeep, like, okay, let him put the Better Skull into play, eventually we can deal with that. If he taps out for that, at least he won't... Wait, let me pause here and talk. Yeah, if he taps down here for a mana leak, at least this way he can't put the Better Skull in play or a Teferi. If it resolves, then he can't also put a Jace into play. But if we do it on our own turn, then he has guaranteed 4 mana. And if he has a Force of Negation that he could use then, because it's our, or not his turn, then he can maybe untap with a Teferi and a Stoneforge. So I think the best timing was in his upkeep. But it's still not a great play all in all that you have to make because of the Stoneforge. But yeah, did not have a Time Raveler here, so all is good so far. Now, since I can't counter anyways, and he probably drops the Better Skull next turn if nothing else happens, I should have played the Uro, but I was probably thinking like, okay, hold up a mana leak or something, make him think about something, maybe hold on for a few more turns until you can pair your bomb with a mana leak or something, so that we get more time. But I think he decides just to slam, like slam the Better Skull in there. If it eats a mana leak, then it eats a mana leak. So I kind of wasted this turn not playing the Uro out. Just trying to bluff and it did not pay off. But I mean, in the end, he has just a 4-4 in play, so it's not the end of the world. So now I just try to play a Jace. See if he has a Force. He has the Force, pushes Supreme Verdict. And now if he plays a Jace or Teferi again, we are probably dead. Better Skull is not even that much of a problem right now. Now it becomes a problem, because the Better Skull is a sword too. So he can untap all of his mana. And we are forced to discard, but for some reason he missed an attack here. So since he has only one card in hand, and he can't have a Force anymore, I just drop the Jace and bounce the token. So I think this was maybe kind of lucky that he made this blunder with not attacking or clicking too fast. Now he got immediately punished for the mistake by us, where we were punished by our Field of Ruin in the last game. Now he picks up a Force. Whatever the Jace is in play now, he has to deal with the Jace. Unless he has his own Jace. But okay, so in the end, he only had the land anyway, so even if he would have connected, we would have pitched the Uro and still played the Jace out, so while he might miss 6 damage there, in the end, we would still untap with the Jace. And now we are in the driver's seat, simply because he has to bounce his Better Skull back, and we have Cryptic with Force backup. Don't need Supreme Verdict, just play the land drops, hold up Cryptic. Better Skull costs 5, so still really clunky. So Force, Better Skull, 1 unknown, which is an Astrolabe. Now, would have tried a counter bounce, a counter draw, tried to lure out the Force of Negation, then we force back, and are in the same position, maybe even bound the Sanctuary there. So he does not play anything, so seems like an Ice-Fang Coatl to me. Now we draw a mana leak. So I think in hindsight I should have just counter the Astrolabe, bounce the Mystic Sanctuary, then he probably goes with his Force of Negation, so we force back and he only has the Better Skull against Jace and Teferi Time Raveler. Now I use the Cryptic Command, he goes with Force of Negation, I use Mana Leak, and then we hope that he doesn't have a counter against our Force when he drops the Better Skull. But if he drops the Better Skull and counters back against our Force, then he is tapped out again and can't deal with the Jace bounce on the token, so... And we can fetch out a Mystic Sanctuary here to put Cryptic back on top, so whatever happens, I think we can't lose from this position. Like, the Better Skull doesn't matter anymore, really, as long as the Jace is on the battlefield. Now I force, if he has Mana Leak, so be it. Then we just bounce the token, drop the Hero of Dominaria, and go from there, and here he concedes. Then here, Whale of Summer. I was thinking about Ashiok, because Stoneforge Mystic, Uro, right? Probably also plays Uros, and Then Mentor is a good 3-drop that he can't Force of Negation. And Mystical Dispute, obviously, against blue decks is pretty strong. And I think I bought out the 5 mana Teferis because it's so hard to resolve them against Mana Leak and Mystical Dispute. Then I just thought, okay, Ashiok is a little bit slow on the draw. It's hard to resolve too, for the same reason as 5 mana Teferi. Sure, you can sometimes combo it maybe with a Whale of Summer, but not sure. Then I bought out a Snapcaster Mage, or was thinking about it to put an Ashiok back into play, so I was not kind of sure how to board against the Stoneforge Mystic version. I am also thinking right now, like, do you really need Oust? Like, the Stoneforge Mystic was no problem in this game, but that might also be the reason because he didn't have a Teferi or a Jace in hand, so... Yeah, and ousting the Stoneforge doesn't do that much because he will just drop it again and find then the sword, so... Put one SoulGuide Lantern in case he plays Urus. It's tough because he attacks from more various angles, but... Yeah, I think the most important cards are Whale of Summer and Mystical Dispute, and the rest is up for debate. Maybe you bring in one Ashiok on the play, actually. Okay, yeah, the hand is fine. We have a 3 mana Time Raveler, we have an Astrolabe. So, yeah, we have a curve of Astrolabe, Ice-Fang, Time Raveler, Cryptic. This time we don't have a path to Exile to stop the Stoneforge Mystic, but then again, if the Stoneforge does not go for a sword, I'm not that scared of the Better Skull, actually. Token is annoying, but we still have Ice-Fangs to deal with it. And it surely costs mana to bounce and replay it all the time. So he goes for the Better Skull again. Then, yeah, ship the turn back. Now let's see how the Stoneforge works when you don't have the path to Exile. But I think, yeah, like always, the real problem card is the Time Raveler. Then we drop here the Ice-Fang Coatl. With the Hallowed Fountain, I think. Okay, go for the basic. To give a Death Touch. And we draw 2 Time Ravelers. So now, since we can't counter anyways, and we have 2 Time Ravelers, I think I just jam. See if he has a Mystical Dispute or something. Tap down everything. If he hard counters... Oh, he even pitches the Force of Negation because he wants to put that Better Skull into play. But this also means that he doesn't have a Mystical Dispute or Mana Leak in hand, so that gave away some information here. Because I think if you have either of those cards, you just Mana Leak or Mystical Dispute. Like, 4/4 is not game deciding here at this stage in the game. Then he drops his own Teferi, which is of course scary. So the question now is, do you, or does the opponent have a second Force of Negation to prevent our second Teferi Time Raveler? Because else we are playing Hearthstone here. And now he chooses to attack with the Stoneforge, which is kind of awkward. Because if our Teferi resolves now, we just bounce his Germ token. And yeah, he doesn't have anything. So his best case scenario would now be to drop a Mind Sculpture. But he did miss a land drop last turn, right? Yeah, he goes into turn 5 and missed the land drop last turn. Could bounce his own Better Skull to hand here, but drops an Uro instead, trying to find that land drop. Now he bounces the Better Skull and ships the turn back, but now we can bounce his Teferi back and hold up Mystical Dispute, and he can't counter against that. because we have our own Teferi. So he missed his chance there, because he missed the land drop, and now we are dominating because of our Time Raveler and Mystical Dispute. And we can even fetch out Mystic Sanctuary here to put Cryptic back on top. But he does do a smart play here. Plays Veil of Summer out before playing anything else. Now he gets his Teferi back again, but yeah. We just fetch out Mystic Sanctuary to do the same line like this turn again. Put Cryptic on top, draw the Cryptic, bounce his Teferi, and hold up Mystical Dispute, or Ice-Fang Coatl then again. And see if he can do his play also again. This is really awkward kind of magic, but Time Raveler makes it possible. And then he concedes. Yeah, so in the end we made another 4-1. The only change was in the sideboard, one Timely Reinforcements exchange against another SoulGuide Lantern, which was mainly there for the Dredge matchup, because we don't have the slots in the mirror, I think. So yeah, pretty interchangeable. You can also go with 2 Timely, probably correct. Because there's not a lot of Dredge running around, and besides Dredge, I don't think you want the second Lantern, but I could be wrong. And here, everything else was like before. I did several misplays, was not punished in the end for it this time, but need to tighten up my game, of course, still, even after 14-15 leagues with this deck. But all in all, it's still performing pretty strong. I should have bought it in the Disdainful Stroke against the weird Through the Breach Polymorph deck. It was a mistake during sideboarding. I think we would not have drawn it in the third game. But yeah, then you could also make the argument to use Dovin's Veto on the end step. Through the Breach, but I don't know. I was not thinking about Titan at this stage in the game because we have not seen it in 2 games, and usually polymorph decks do not run the Primeval Titan. But maybe this is why the Yorion is there to blink it, I don't know. Maybe I should have thought about Primeval Titan because he played Field of the Dead in game 1. But yeah, if he would not have the second Titan there, I think we win. And would have made the trophy, but yeah, anyways, that was it. I hope you enjoyed this league too. And see you back for the next one when we grind this again. Maybe I also have to try out the Yorion version of this deck. So far, I did not miss the bird, and it makes our sideboard cards better because there's a higher chance to draw out 2 offs. But in the very, very long games, like in the mirror, it could help as well as maybe against Junt or something like that, but it always feels like the mirror only comes down to, do you have Teferi, yes or no, and if you have it, resolves it, and if it resolves, if the opponent doesn't have anything there, Teferi just wins. So, pretty obnoxious card for everyone. Still pretty important in the meta. Unfortunately, there are so much decks with Veil of Summer where you simply leave in Teferi just so that they can't counter. For example, the Primeval Titan decks. But yeah, anyways, have a great day, stay healthy, and till next time, bye bye.